The Honda Civic has had a decade of dominance, but does it deserve its top dog position? Short answer, yes, but for an economy car, it's lacking in one key aspect. For 2025, the Civic was refreshed, and that comes with both good and bad news. Honda applied a little bit of makeup to the front and rear fascias. Basically, every trim now comes with the Sport moniker. They've revived the Civic Hybrid. The non-hybrid Civic is now a little less powerful, a little more efficient, and devoid of 3 pedals. That will now be left to the SI and Type R only, as is a turbocharged engine. Briefly, if you enjoy fun, detailed car content, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. Thank you. There are several attributes that I think a small car needs to have if it is to be considered as the best. The first one, it needs to be affordable. And that's where we need to have a talk. You can find an LX for 25 grand, but if you want anything more than the bare basics, the price climbs quickly, especially if you want the hybrid. That'll run you 30 grand at least, and at that point, this isn't fighting the Corolla hybrid anymore, it's duking it out with the Camry. So what are you getting for your money? Well, you'll have standard LED headlights that will cremate the retinas of your enemies and fellow drivers. That's because the reflectors shine the low beams oddly high. The Sport gets alloys, proximity entry, and a sharper aesthetic. It doesn't really look like some cheap car, and its relatively large size also gives it more presence and a big advantage on the inside. The trunk of the sedan nearly matches that of the aforementioned Camry. The cargo hold of the hatchback is even more baffling. It's long, tall, and wide, with its only drawbacks being that the roofline is aggressively sloped and the hybrid does not have a spare tire. In the back, I can fit behind myself at 6'3", though it is a bit of a tight fit as you would anticipate. Up front, the Civic keeps things basic. My Sport tester does have some nice things, like a leather-wrapped wheel and heated front seats. And if you spend more, you can get a reasonably crisp and powerful Bose sound system that's one of the best in class. But there are some noteworthy features missing from the options list. A good deal is a state of mind, and I think Honda's way of building value in the Civic is a smart one. Make it well, and make it make sense. They nailed the ergonomics. Everything that you interact with gives you nice feedback. They also paid attention to what materials are where. You don't have a bunch of glossy black plastics in places that you're going to be touching all the time. The cabin also feels well constructed. It might be a little dark and drab. A Mazda 3 uses more soft touch materials, but panel fitment is good, and the plastics here don't feel as cheap as what you get with the Impreza or Corolla. It's also a smart design. Everything is placed well within reach. Storage in here is good. If you have large bottles, it doesn't block anything. And because the steering wheel comes out far enough for me, I can find a good driving position. I do have a couple of qualms. The base infotainment here, while it is responsive, and I do like that it's extremely simple, it still looks dated. The resolution, the UI, the lack of wireless CarPlay, unless you step up to the Touring, is disappointing to me. And on every grade, the seat bottoms are firm with an odd shape. They shouldn't be a deal breaker for most, but their treatment of my tailbone is not appreciated during long trips. The next staple of a successful compact car is an efficient, long-lasting engine. The K20 2-liter naturally aspirated inline-4 is the right engine for the job. Without electrification, it is down on power, both in general and compared to last year. That's because this now uses a Atkinson-like cycle, which was done so that it can get another mile per gallon. The car that I'm currently driving is actually a 2024. We'll hop in the 2025 hybrid soon, but I want to at least get a feel for the base power plant beforehand, because the new LX grade will save you $4,000 over the entry-level electrified Civic. While I wouldn't label it peppy, it is enough, and it can hit 40 miles per gallon pretty easily. The standard engine is hooked up to a smooth, traditional continuously variable transmission that makes this feel lethargic off the line. It really struggles to put the power down. At the very least, once you're around 20, 30 miles per hour, it feels like any other compact, and I think Honda has done a good job of tuning this to seamlessly work in the background. If you really care, 0 to 60, according to other outlets with the 2025, comes up in about 9 seconds. For $2,500 more, you get 50 more horsepower, nearly 100 more pound-feet of torque, 50 miles per gallon, and a transformed driving experience. Don't worry, only Sport mode has that fake engine noise. This uses Honda's 2-liter naturally aspirated inline-4, but now it has a 2-motor electric hybrid setup. And it's a pretty special system. It uses an electric drive motor that will power the wheels directly. The engine is essentially a generator only at low speeds, but then it does have its own lockup clutch, allowing it to direct drive when you're cruising more around highway speeds. This improves efficiency, but it also makes this thing drive more like an electric car than I've felt from any non-PHEV. This just got to 60 in 6.3 seconds, and it honestly did a pretty good job of putting the power to the ground, as this is front-wheel drive only. I'm really hoping that Honda adds in an all-wheel drive option somewhere down the line, but that might make this even more expensive. I guess I just talked myself out of an all-wheel drive Civic. You know, I'll let you guys decide. But the passing power here, this feels almost as potent, but more responsive than the Mazda 3 Turbo, while also absolutely crushing the gas mileage. At least in the city. On the highway, the efficiency drops alarmingly. On a 300-mile journey, I managed 39 miles per gallon while keeping the speed between 65 and 70 miles per hour. That's much less than a Corolla hybrid. Speed and efficiency are enough to get the attention of econoboxers, but the Toyota Camry and Prius provide similar numbers. What I think makes this stand out more is how it delivers the power. This feels even better than the eCVT. It does a good job of mocking gear ratios. The powertrain just feels so much more direct than what I'm used to with any other hybrid. Unless it costs $50,000 and comes with the satellite dish as a spoiler, people are not buying Honda Civics as garage queens. People are going to drive these everywhere, and real worlds aren't always so forgiving. So it's crucial that this rides and handles like a car that costs a few grand more than most of its competition. And it does. On roads that look like they've been hit with snow and meteors, the Civic is compliant. Potholes are felt, as are a lot of the imperfections, but none are really hitting hard. They've done a great job springing this thing. It's smooth and in control. I think if you want something maybe a little bit more cushy, you can go with the Subaru Impreza, but I think a lot of compact buyers will also appreciate the added agility of the Civic. The steering is light and precise. You can also feel a little bit of the road surface through the wheel. It's mostly numb, but I think it gives you, at least the same amount of feedback that you get from a car like the WRX, except I think this builds up in weight better. It's not quite as sharp, obviously. This is going to come with a softer suspension, but Honda deserves a round of applause for this. If you want something that feels a little bit more buttoned down and firm, they make an SI for a reason. This is going to have some body roll. It's not exactly eager to change direction. It's just very predictable. I also think this handling is enhanced by good visibility. The windshield is close to me, the belt line isn't crazy high. This is a large compact, but it's still very easy to drive. For 2025, the hybrid models will get active noise cancellation along with wheel resonators, something that Honda is particularly proud of. And my sound meter agrees, it's a little bit more quiet. In hybrid form, it is a notch more hushed than the Corolla or Impreza, and the engine is much less buzzy. The freshly updated adaptive cruise and lane centering are also more refined than what I've experienced from past Hondas, but I do think Toyota has an advantage there. We can debate about how important driver convenience features are, but one thing that I believe makes the Corolla and Civic so much more popular than most other compacts is their reputation for reliability. The Toyota still earns that credential, but what about the Honda? The 11th gen Civic is largely based on the 10th gen, so this platform has had some time to fix issues, like the old AC condenser leaking, and oil dilution with the now SI-only 1.5 liter. Since the new car's release in 2022, there have been many reports of interior rattles. Some people have had buggy infotainment, others have experienced issues with the autonomous braking and adaptive cruise control, but the most noteworthy problem is sticky steering from a faulty worm wheel. This was widespread but recently recalled. Consumer Reports mostly agrees with these findings. Overall, owner reviews on Edmunds and Cars.com don't show many having serious problems, so I feel comfortable recommending this to people who highly prioritize reliability. It should do a good job of protecting your wallet and your body, according to the IIHS. As we head into 2025, finding a strong new car deal is once again tricky. I think there's still plenty of vehicles that undercut their competitors, but that almost always means quality is being sacrificed. The designs can still grab attention, but they're not trying to back that up with substance. Unless substance means a larger screen or ambient lighting. I think each approach to cheap serves its own purpose, but I also think that we, including myself, need to take a second before deeming a price too high. The Honda Civic is practical, efficient, comfortable, a little fun to drive, straightforward, and solid for the money. Some of its competitors have an edge in efficiency or comfort, but this is incredibly well-rounded. It shows me how good a compact can be, and it also reminds me that good things don't usually come cheap. If you can swing it, even in hybrid form, I'd say the Civic is worth the price. Now it's time to put it up against some of its strongest rivals to see who comes out on top. Thanks for watching, and thank you to my channel members for helping me improve my videos. Consider joining for additional content. I'll catch you in the next one.